Men want to be you, women fancy you. Are you as perfect as you seem?
Kidding me? I was so sick of myself. Is everything okay? When I first threatened to run away from home, my parents packed my bags for me.
It seemed like a wild family.
They were at times violent.
Mom then ran to the cabinet and pulled out a 12-inch chef's knife.
I love you, Matthew. I just don't like you right now.
I was crouching behind the couch in the living room, starting to get nervous.
This is where it all falls apart.
Dad flipped the dining room table into the ceiling. Mom waving the 12-inch blade. Dad with his broken nose.
It was like the Pacific Ocean in a storm.
What happens to a man after they lose their father? I got a call from my mom at about 7 o'clock in the evening. Your dad died. My knees buckled. I couldn't believe it. Impossible. He was my dad. Nobody or no thing could kill him except Mom. He'd always told me and my brothers, boys, when I go, I'm going to be making love to your mother. And that's what happened. What happens to a man after they lose their father? Incredible things happen.
Following in his father's footsteps was Matthew's first goal in life.
I remember 8 years old saying, oh, that's when you made it. That's when you've succeeded in life, when you become a father. And so from that day on, it was very clear to me, the one thing I knew I always wanted to be. It was ahead of any dreams of a career or fame or wealth. It was being a father.
But his parents were far from perfect.
They were at times violent. That is how they communicated. They were divorced twice, married 3 times. It was like the Pacific Ocean in a storm.
Dad had just gotten home from work. Dad flipped the dining room table into the ceiling. Mom grabbed the handheld end of the phone off the wall mount and raked it across his brow. Dad's nose was broken. Mom then ran to the cabinet and pulled out a 12-inch chef's knife. They circled each other in the middle of the kitchen. Seconds later, they moved toward each other and met in an animal embrace. They dropped to their knees and made love.
Despite their violent ways, they were quick to leave the hard times behind.
We were pretty much raised, you create your own weather. And it's summertime. It's summertime 12 months of the year. I don't care if it's storming cold and raining. You better get out of bed happy that you got scrambled eggs on the table. And if you don't, get your butt back there to bed and wake up on the other side of it.
But when his dad died, it got harder to ignore the hard times.
What impact did that have on you?
You lose a father, that's the main crutch in a man's life.
Oh, you don't have your dad to rely on anymore to catch you when you fall.
Made me angry after my father passed away and I found out certain things. I was like, wait, he didn't live by that? He taught me that.
And in his grief, Matthew lost sight of his goal.
As soon as he passed away, I noticed that all the things that I was revering in life, the fame, people, that success, money, they lowered down to eye level. I was calling my mom, needing to talk to my mom. Hey, I'm a little unbalanced here. These things are going on. What do they mean? The woman that was on the phone was a fan of my fame. Well, I would have conversations, and then all of a sudden, whoop, what we talked about shows up in the paper 3 days later. And there's my mom with the cameraman taking a guy through our house going, this is where I caught him in bed with Melissa. I call her up. I'm like, Mom, what did you do? And she's like, oh, I didn't think you'd find out. So I had 8 years where my mom and I's relationship was strained. I didn't have a mother to talk to.
Struggling without his parents' support, Matthew was desperate to escape.
I had a recurring dream, and half of the dream took place on the Amazon River. So I put on a backpack and got a one-way ticket to Lima. I went to a place where memory could catch up with me. I went to a place where for the first 13 days, I could not stand my company. I was so sick of myself. Sleepless nights.
Alone in the jungle, he couldn't ignore the pain he had been hiding from anymore.
They are hardships, they are a crisis. We don't like them, but a lot of times they do give us what we need.
And I had one good night of that, we call it Montezuma's Revenge, where I broke a sweat and threw it all up, took off everything that was a moniker that said I was a McConaughey, and had it out and woke up the next morning light as a feather. And then I learned some lessons. One of the downfalls of not having a winter is when you do screw up, you never allowed us any time to go sit there and actually have some inside time, some introverted time to go like, what do I want to change about that?
I've got to take ownership of myself. And I stood with my heart higher, I stood with my head higher, and I walked forward and started doing things.
Matthew was finally ready to make his own family.
And we all want to meet that someone who's right, that we can make a bigger life with. You're just scared to do it.
In the middle of making all kinds of romantic comedies, you found the love of your life, Camilla. Do you remember the first time you guys met?
I was out holding court at a table, and this figure about 20 feet in front of me moved from my right to left, and there were these caramel colored shoulders and this sort of turquoise beautiful dress on, and I remember I leaned forward without even thinking about it, and I said, what is that? I started to kind of
try to get her attention to call her over from the room. And as I was doing that, I heard my mother in my ear saying, "Boy, get your butt up. This ain't the kind of woman you wave across the room." And I said, "Yes, ma'am." And then introduced myself. We had our first conversation that night. And that's the only woman that I've dated since.
Why do you think that was the one?
You've got to be the right person, but it has to be the right time. It was the right time for me.
Matthew knew that he didn't want to repeat his parents' mistakes with Camilla.
Camilla's parents were married twice, divorced 3 times. So if you look at our past, it'd be like, well, we have a whole lot of reasons to not be for marriage. I was really feeling like I would really fall in love with her, and this is the woman I want to spend the rest of my time with, and I would love for her to be the mother of children we can create.
His love for Camilla gave him a new perspective on his mom's grief over losing his dad.
Look, nobody is perfect. I've forgiven her. I just had to make some boundaries. We're back completely now. My mom and dad had quite enjoyed a tumultuous, rocky, big wave relationship. I don't remember the last time I raised my voice to Camilla.
With Camilla as his partner, Matthew finally achieved his childhood goal.
Making a baby with mama doesn't mean, okay, I did it, now I'm a father. There is fatherhood. I don't choose to discipline my children the same way my parents did. I think I do a pretty good job of trying to maintain and care for each relationship in my family well enough so it doesn't get to a point where I'm exacerbated or I have to raise my voice.
Fatherhood's getting more and more fun, just having the tribe. There's more to live for, and that feels good.
And Matthew takes the pain from his past and uses it to make a better future for his kids.
What's the greatest legacy I want to leave? My children.
Life's a verb. We try our best, we don't always do our best. And since we are the architects of our own lives, let's study the habits that lead to and feed our success, our joy, our honest pain, our laughter, our earned tears. And when we do that, we get better at them.
You have more power right now to define your future than ever.